Under the pale Arctic sun, where wind howls across snowfields like a ghost long forgotten, the herd moved. Thick clouds of breath rose from their nostrils, forming temporary halos in the sub-zero air. Their hooves crunched through a thin crust of snow that hid jagged ice and frozen lichen beneath. Above, glacial cliffs loomed like silent sentinels. Below, the musk oxen pressed forward in a tight formation, a circle of fur and muscle moving across a world made of ice and silence. At the rear, a female musk ox named Anari limped slightly, her thick coat darkened with frost. Her newborn calf clung to her side, barely tall enough to reach her belly, but his legs moved fast to keep up. He was barely 2 days old. The blizzard that had raged the night of his birth had scattered the herd for hours. Many had regrouped. Some had not. But not all losses were noticed. Anari wasn't limping because of the cold. Beneath her shaggy leg, a wolf bite throbbed. She had fought one off the night before, alone. There had been no one else nearby when the predator found her and her baby tucked in a windless hollow. She had won. But not without cost. Dozens of kilometers south, far removed from the silent drama of her world, a small research base nestled at the edge of a frozen fjord. It was manned by 2 biologists, Dr. Ileana Brandt and her field partner, Koji Sato. They had been stationed there for 7 months, tracking herd movements using satellite tags and infrared drones. They weren't hunters. They weren't there to interfere. They were witnesses, chroniclers of survival. But deep down, both knew that sometimes, watching wasn't enough. One late afternoon, as Ileana reviewed heat signature patterns, she paused. A cluster of red dots showed the herd's direction, but something else blinked nearby. A second, smaller, isolated signal. It wasn't tagged. But it was warm. Moving. Alone. Could be a straggler, Koji said. Or injured. Or a calf, Ileana whispered. Maybe orphaned. They exchanged a glance. Unspoken thoughts passed between them. Rules said not to interfere. But the Arctic had its own rules, and not all of them were kind. Back in the white wilderness, the lone signal was a calf. His name, if he'd ever had one, was lost when the blizzard took his mother. A fall into a shallow ravine had broken her spine. She had died silently, in the same snowdrift where she had once warmed him. For 2 nights, the calf had stayed beside her, nudging her side, waiting for her to move. On the 3rd morning, hunger pushed him upright. Instinct fought grief, and instinct won. Now he wandered. No direction. No scent to follow. Just the cold and the sky. His cries echoed across the ice but were swallowed by wind. Each step he took became harder. But still, he walked. That's when the drone found him. Ileana and Koji deployed on snowmobiles just before dawn. They didn't speak much during the ride. The cold burned their faces despite the gear. When they arrived at the coordinates, the wind had already covered much of the trail. But they spotted him, a tiny hump of fur half covered in frost, barely alive. Ileana approached slowly, voice soft. Hey. It's okay. The calf tried to run, but his legs buckled. He collapsed with a whimper that barely made a sound. Koji wrapped him in a thermal tarp and they both lifted him onto a sled. As they rode back to camp, the wind rose into a scream, but the little calf was asleep in Ileana's lap, heart still beating. Meanwhile, Anari stopped walking. She turned sharply, nose to the wind. Something, distant, thin, but real, had reached her. A sound. A scent. A shiver down her spine. Her baby bumped into her side, confused. She didn't explain. She just started walking, not with the herd, but away from it. Toward the wind. Toward the cold. The calf was weak, but alive. Over the next few days, Ileana and Koji kept him fed with formula and kept his body warm with thick fleece and infrared lamps. They called him Nico, after a Norse word for snowflake. He grew stronger. He stood again. He took tentative steps around the enclosure. But something stayed missing. He wouldn't eat unless Ileana was near. He didn't respond to recorded Musk ox calls. He never slept through the night. Then, on the 6th day, the sensors triggered again. Another warm body. Approaching the base. Alone. Anari had walked across 40 kilometers of frozen land. Her wound reopened on day 3. She had barely slept. But she followed something: scent, instinct, memory, maybe all 3. When Ileana saw her on the outer cameras, her breath caught. "She found us," she whispered. Koji looked up from his journal. She found him. They didn't go out immediately. They waited. Let it happen without interference. From behind the fence, Nico let out a whine, higher pitched than a musk ox call, but filled with meaning. Anari's ears twitched. Then she called back. A low, grumbling snort, the kind only mothers make. The calf moved toward the gate. Koji slowly pulled the latch. The gate opened. The two animals stared at each other for a heartbeat too long. Then Nico rushed forward. Anari lowered her head, and he nestled beneath her neck. She snorted, sniffed, rubbed him from head to tail. He jumped once, a joyful little skip, and she bellowed, a sound that shook the base windows. They had found each other. No herd. No scent trail. Just will. Just instinct. Ileana and Koji knew what came next. They tagged Anari gently. They left food nearby and didn't approach again. For 2 more days, the pair stayed near the base. Then, one morning, the cameras showed them walking away, side by side into the blinding white horizon. Weeks passed. The herd was located again, and this time, the signal from Anari's collar blinked within it. She had found them once more. And with her, though smaller, a little slower, was Nico. The calf who shouldn't have survived. The calf who lived because someone disobeyed the cold logic of nature, just long enough. Under the aurora-lit sky, 2 scientists stood on a cliff edge, watching through binoculars as the musk oxen moved like shadows across the tundra. "He'll be okay," Ileana said. Koji nodded. "She won't let him fall behind again." They stood there until the herd disappeared into the snow. Then, and only then, did they turn away.